What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Nerdgasm. This is the last match of round one. Ironically enough, it is number one versus the number 16 seed. It is Richard Schwartz versus Buddy Whatshisname. We're not sure yet who Buddy Whatshisname is. We will reveal him momentarily, but before we introduce our competitors, we have to introduce our judges today. First off, the co-commissioner, the co-GM, that son of a bitch, Cody Newberry. Cody, how are you feeling? Round one is almost over, and any speculation on who you think Buddy Whatshisname is?
Buddy Whatshisname is a very funny person. But round one, we have survived 8 matches. I was on call for 7 of them. You were on call for 7 of them. So we survived working together as a team. And no one's dead, and we don't hate each other yet. So
yes,
I think this is working. This should be a very interesting match. One of these people I have debated in other things, and literally took me to the wire. Well, one off from the wire, but still close. So she should not be taken lightly. And the other was the top-rated person besides Caleb in this tournament. So with that being said, this match should, if they prepped or at least they know what they're talking about, this match should go down to the wire, and I'm so excited to watch it.
All right, and joining us as well today, you can find him on Fandom Fights, running singles teams, getting himself into manageables because, yeah, for sure, get him into a manageable match. That is the one, Caleb Coho. Caleb, how do you feel, Buddy? What's his name? First, Richard Schwartz. Who do you got?
Richard's really, really good. Richard was the biggest shock of the old Nerdgasm for all of us. He came out of nowhere and just did really, really good. So I'm gonna put my money on Richard, mainly because Buddy Whatshisname, I don't know. So Buddy Whatshisname, I wish you all the luck in the world.
All right, so let us go into the minds of our competitors. Guys, very quickly with Richard Schwartz. Richard, you were ranked by the wheel as the number 1 seed of the tournament. How do you feel about that? And going up against a mystery opponent, what was your strategy?
Well, first of all, being the number 1 seed, it's cool and all, but the wheel seems to love me. Whenever my name gets put on the wheel, I usually get first or second. Don't know why, but it was kind of hard because I didn't know who I was facing till recently. So my plans for this has always been always think you're behind. So that's how I prep.
That is what she said. So we are now going to reveal the thing that most of people have been waiting for. So Buddy, what's his name? I'm going to ask you 2 questions. 1, tell us who you are, and 2, why do you think you're going to beat Richard?
I am Nazario Montenegro. I think this is officially my first appearance on Nerdgasm. Didn't even know you had already done a reboot, but seems like an interesting thing. And I have no idea if I'm going to beat Richard. I have never seen him debate. I have tried debating in other stuff. I have done better than I expected, which is pretty good. So I expect this to be a pretty good match too.
Alrighty, well, let's get right into it. How it works is this. Players drafted various categories from the fandom, movie, and TV universe. Myself, Cody, and Caleb devised questions from those categories, and then they drafted answers based on rankings. Each prep question will begin with 1 minute of 1 minute opening argument, followed by 5 minutes of free form, and then a 45-second closing. A couple of rules: don't be a dickhead, no filibustering, and no touching of the hair or face. We're going to go right into question number 1, category that was drafted with South Park. And the question we gave, pretty straightforward, but kind of broad, is what is the best season of South Park? Richard, you are going to be going first in this argument. You have 1 minute opening, and time begins whenever you start talking.
Really hard to come up with the best season of South Park because every season, in my opinion, is really good. However, when I come to the best season, I think of memorability, impact on the show and impact on their lives, and I am going to go with season 17 of South Park is the best season, which includes episodes of Let Go Gov, World War Zimmerman, and of course one of the best three-parter episodes, Black Friday, A Song of Ass and Fire, and Titties and Dragons. And I'm going to continue on why my season's the best once we get into it.
All right, doing a patented rhyme with Brian Purvison, ending way early. We're now going to go to Nazario. Nazario, your opening arguments in 1 minute. Time begins whenever you start talking.
I also believe that 1 minute is way too long because I do have the right answer for this, and it's not 17. The right answer is season 14. If you talk about memorability, you get not one but two multi-episode arcs before they started doing the iffy continuity thing in the later seasons. And I'm pretty sure 14 is better than 17, so let's get it on.
All right. Very short and very sweet. We are going to move into the 5 minutes of freeform. One other thing, competitors, I'm just going to verbalize a 1 minute warning when we're down to 1 minute. Just keep going on as if nothing happened. So 5 minutes, guys. Let's get it on.
He's saying that it has one of the best multi-arc episodes. I honestly barely remember that PS4 versus Xbox argument. I think the most memorable thing that did it was a commercial for a Stick of Truth video game, not even for the show itself. Besides that, I have no idea what he likes about this year.
Okay, well, first of all, you just mentioned Xbox versus PS4, so obviously that episode was somewhat memorable because that was the main focus of those three episodes. Second of all, your three-parter wasn't even the second best of the three-parters. Second best was the Imagination Land three-parter. Why my season is the better season is because my season holds up on its own. Your season, the majority of your episodes relies on people having to have seen the previous episodes of the previous seasons. For example, the first two-parter you had with the 201, which was the Scientology, you had to watch, and Super Friends Mohammed, you had to go back. You have to try to remember the season which Super Friends come out, because if you're a viewer who has not seen the previous seasons, you might be a little lost. And you also had the Josh Tannerman in the previous season.
200 is a great episode because it brings back the Scientology arc, but it's like it's not necessary to enjoy it. It's just rewarding for people who are following the show for so many episodes. And the whole thing with Tom Cruise actually being a fudge packer and yet suing people for calling him a fudge packer is hilarious. And they brought back the Mohammed thing, and it actually started a conversation in the real world about this, because why couldn't we show Mohammed? Why can't we just say the name Mohammed? It's what we want to do. And that the next episode follow it up with a gigantic 2-minute beep by the end that honestly I thought it was original because it worked. It was hilarious. And later we learned that it was like a controversial thing because the Comic Central didn't want to show the audio. It's a great episode and very memorable. Also, the three-parter is great. It's Kun and Friends. And they bring in Cthulhu, and Cartman betrays his friends. They bring back the mystery of Mysterion, who's this kid that in the previous time they show him, he just removed his face, and like all the kids in South Park are so generic.
You're on the assumption that every single person have seen every ever season of South Park. There are going to be a lot of people, or even some people, who have not seen every single season. So that means they have to track back all the way to other seasons, look for them before they can understand and fully appreciate. My season is funny. Every episode's hysterical, and they told up their own. The closest you get to maybe having to go back was Goth Kids 3, but even then, Goth Kids, you don't need to, because they're typical Goth Kids. You understand that information. And World War Zimmerman brought back the discussion of the whole Zimmerman situation years back and why that was so important.
Yeah, that's Cartman saying that Token, the black guy, was gonna go crazy and kill them all. How original. Cartman does that every 3 seasons. Also,
Cartman always betrays his friends every season, every episode. So that wasn't a big of a shocker. Yeah, and honestly, the ending of the Kun and Friends was a letdown.
Like he was total. Come on, that was hilarious. And the Goth Kids is always the weakest part of every season they have shown up. And now, what's the argument in this episode? Are we goth? Are we emo? Is it the same? Is it similar enough? It's not similar. It's different. I don't see the funny in that. I'm sorry. And what else do you think is memorable? The episode where they argue if Kim Kardashian is a hobbit? Is that funny? I don't think so.
First of all, the Hobbit episode was hysterical. Second of all,
My season, you have
the ending of
Facebook.
yours is forgettable. The Coon and Friends episode is now forgettable. The ending of the 3 arc was very disappointing. Like, it was like, okay, Kenny's parents were in a cult. Woohoo.
Yes,
Very.
and that explains how he has died and come back for a million
1
times.
minute.
On a question that nobody expected to be answered, it was answered in a brilliant way by saying that it's a demonic cult that every time he dies, her mom immediately gives birth to him again. That is
Also,
that is
why my
brilliant.
season is the best. Why my season's the best episode? Oh, sorry. Why my season is the best episode is because it was the first season for it to be knocked down to 10 episodes, which means they put in a lot of thought of each and every episode. Your season went from 17 March 2010 to 28 April, then came back October 6th to November. So that means they had a lot more time. And even then, a lot of those episodes of your seasons are just like throwaway or seasons. Once again, you have to go back to previous seasons.
That's not
episode.
true. The fact that they made
yes, you do.
and they have more memorable episodes. It's more something you can recognize more than having a shorter season with a few standouts. My season has
my trilogy brought you South Park Stick of Truth, one of the best video games, which spawned the other 2 video games.
In the best season, it's a video game.
It was inspired by my season, my trilogy.
Time. I will not say time more than 3 times. But we will now move into the closing arguments. Nazario, you're going to be going first. You got 45 seconds to wrap up your arguments. Time begins whenever you start talking.
My season has several standout episodes. The one mocking Inception, which turns very dark, about the counselor being raped as a kid. It has the Facebook episode that is an excellent parody of Tron. It has the Nathan and Mimsy episode. This one has a commercial for Stick of Truth, a video game. It's a good commercial for it, but doesn't make the season any better. And Coon and Friends is a great trilogy with Midberry Crunch and Mysterion being revealed as Kenny finally.
All right. Once again, very, very concise. Richard, you have 45 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Season 17 is the best season of South Park. It has the most memorable episodes. My trilogy introduced the Stick of Truth, which spawned off 2 other very successful video games. Without these 3 TV episodes, South Park Stick of Truth would not have done it well. Mine was a lot shorter, true, but Black Friday, Ginger Cow, great episodes. All my episodes were memorable. His season 14, if you haven't seen the previous seasons, you might not understand a lot what's going on.
All right.
So I'll end it there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So it's actually really good. It was a nice calm. There's a good back and forth. Good job. So I'm gonna go first. Essentially, what it came down to for me was like quality over quantity in a way. I think Richard's argument was that like his episodes were better single ones where you don't need to watch, like you don't need to understand the lore of South Park. But then I think Nazario actually really defended that kind of well, where it's like they're still funny regardless of the lore, where it's sort of more rewarding. And I think Nazario had a really good punch coming out of the gate, where he said where like a lot of his good shows are sort of marketing tools, and then Richard's defense of that was like, he needs to be like, or these are my God, why can't I speak words right now? Where it's like, yeah, these are the more memorable ones. And I think that sort of just kind of tilted it back a little bit. So I'm actually going to give my point to Nazario. So I'm going to go to Cody next. Cody, based on arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
Yeah, that just makes me never want to watch South Park ever again. I think I heard Tom Cruise is a fudge packer at one point. Yeah, that's like a lot of things that are just too weird for me. I'm with you, though. I think Nazario countered it really well and kind of made Richard play the defense. And then I guess it's nothing against Richard. I think he had a great strategy. It just didn't have weight for me as a judge of the video game arc. I think he spent a little too much time on that. Because, yes, that's important. But just because that season inspired it, they were going to probably do it anyways. But overall, I think Nazario had a few more haymakers and a few more jabs that countered. But again, it was really close.
Yeah. All right, so Nazario gets point number 1. Caleb.
I just want to say real quick, thank God that he didn't do Rotten Tomatoes, because his season got 71% Rotten Tomatoes. Mine was just 66, so, I was glad he didn't mention that.
So, Caleb, your vote did not count, but how would you have swayed?
I would have gone the same way that you guys did. So, yeah.
All right, cool.
Good job, Nazario.
All right, so we are going to move into question number 2. The category that's selected was the DCEU. So we gave them a bit of a pitch question, and the question was add a member to the Justice League, and why they essentially mentioned why their team member would most improve the league itself. So Nazario, you're going to go first. You have 1 minute of opening. Time begins whenever you start talking.
First, is a very strange choice that they just had 6 people in the Justice League, because usually the structure and historically is that Justice League has 7 members. That being said, I think what they lacked the most was a Green Lantern, because it kind of brings an extra galactic element to the team. And the one I picked was John Stewart. Green Lantern.
All right, perfect. Richard, you're going to go to you next. You got a minute of free for, or a minute. I always do that. Minute of opening arguments. Time begins whenever you start talking.
I also agree with Nazario that it's kind of weird they've only had 6 members. They do need 7th, but what they are lacking is not another overpowered superhero. What they're lacking is another heroine, a female, someone with story, someone who's not superpowered, someone who has a great backstory and will already be established in the DC by the time the next Justice League come out. And that is the Huntress, Helena Rosa Bertinelli. She is was born in the Mafia. And I'll go on even more. This is why I'm choosing Huntress as the best fit.
Alrighty. Well, once again, short and concise opening arguments. You got 5 minutes of free form. Let's go.
I'm going to say the main problem right now is that if you put in Green Lantern in the Justice League right now, it's not only going to ruin the Justice League, it's going to ruin John Stewart, because everyone wants John Stewart right now, and he needs to have his own movie before he's able to be in the Justice League. If you just put him in there half-assed, like they did with Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman, it might ruin the franchise in their movies previously. Barry Allen was kind of a joke in the Justice League, and his movie's coming out pretty soon, and it's going to hurt his chances. Like, I'm not going to see him as a leading character, whereas Huntress is going to be in Birds of Prey. She's already going to be established, and once she gets into the Justice League, it's going to be a great backstory. It's going to be... I'm going to let you go on.
I'm sorry, Richard, but all I'm hearing is that you're putting in a lower tier character. Just do not risk ruining a better character like Jon Stewart. And also bringing more women into the Justice League. That might make it more politically correct, but not necessarily better. They are already facing cosmic repercussions. They already hinted that they might have to deal with Doomsday, not Doomsday. I forgot his name. From Apocalypse and the next movie. So you need actually powerful people. And the concept of Green Lanterns have already enter into the actual DCU, because in that flashback they show with them fighting them the first time with the Amazon and all the gods, there was a Green Lantern helping them,
and it wasn't good. They were an afterthought. Like John Stewart, you can't rush John Stewart. You need his own movie. You need to introduce Hal Jordan before you even get to John Stewart. You need to be able. Right now, at the end of Justice League, they had Lex Luthor and
makes the Justice League better. A Green Lantern makes it better. And choosing Jon Stewart also helps you out trying to erase the Hal Jordan fiasco that was with Ryan Reynolds, because he's a completely different character. But it actually introduces even more diversity, because he's also a black person who's going to join the league. And he can bring
adding a black person does not make it diversity. There are other races. There's Asians, there's Hispanics, there's other things. And besides that, once again, Jon Stewart... sorry, I need to catch my breath.
What's that Huntress again? I mean, come on. She has no power. She has no gadget.
Exactly. She has no powers. We have a room full of superpowers.
Batman who can cover everything that woman can cover and better.
Once again, you're right. We have way superpowers. This one does not. That's what we need. We need a balance in the Justice League.
To make the team better, you need somebody with no superpowers.
You need someone who can challenge Batman. You need someone who can challenge Wonder Woman. That is Huntress. She was raised in the Mafia. She was raped at age 6 by a rival. That is a great epic storyline, especially for the DC. It's especially dark. I mean, again, you're adding another character who's overpowered.
Trying to get revenge on Bertinelli, who killed her real parents. She gets so focused in that she gets distracted on the bigger picture. And then
exactly, that's what's going to make the Justice League better, is that friction that Huntress is going to bring to the table.
She's just going to be a one-track mind person with no powers and no gadgets, thinking about her own personal revenge. How does that make it better? Green Lantern.
How does it make it better having a dude with another ring, another overpowered dude that if you don't establish, you have to establish his story. You have to establish his character. If you're going, and it's going to be the Justice League once again. It's going to be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's going to be their three focus. Huntress doesn't need to be the full focus. John Stewart has to be a full focus. If he's not, it's going to weaken his chances to ever him getting a movie in the future. Because what they did to the Flash, what they did to Cyborg, they were like afterthoughts. They were side characters in their own league.
Now you're arguing about structure of a movie.
The question is, who will make which character will make the Justice League better?
The team,
and that is Huntress.
Better. It's a Green Lantern with a cosmic power. Can you imagine if a Green Lantern had joined the Stephen Wolf fight? He could have just made some constructs out of thin air with the ring and separate the mother boxes. Help out way more than a woman.
So it was going to make a 2-minute
time. Interesting debate. I like it. We're now going to move into the closing arguments. Richard, you're going to go first. You got 45 seconds. Tell us again why Huntress is the best addition to Justice League.
Huntress is the best addition to the Justice League because not only her story is amazing, she's already going to be established in Birds of Prey, so she doesn't need to be too much of a focus in the next Justice League. Her storyline, her contradictions will bring the teams of the Justice League on edge. It will make the story a lot more fascinating, whereas Green Lantern is just another overpowered male in a world where he's going to be an afterthought in the Justice League movie, which will hurt his chances for ever having a good standalone movie.
All right. Nazario, 45 seconds. Tell us why John Stewart would be the best addition to the Justice League.
Just think, he's a better addition because he's a galactic superhero. He brings a lot of power in it. We're using John Stewart, which separates from the bad memory of Ryan Reynolds. The Lanterns already is a concept that was introduced in the movie, so it's goods you can spend on it. Helena, Huntress, no powers, no gadgets. We already have Batman, and he's a billionaire, and I just do not see it. Another woman just for the sake of being a woman, just because it's not going to suck more screen time. It's a pretty weak argument. I'm sorry.
All right. We're going to move on to the judges' assistants now. Caleb, since your vote did not count last time, we'll go to you first. So, based on the arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
I'm going to lean to Richard slightly. I think he had a solid argument. Yeah, I'm going to keep these short. Yeah, I'm going to give my point to Richard.
Alrighty. Cody, gonna go to you next. Based on the argument provided, who gets your point and why?
I'm gonna have to disagree on that one. I think I was leaning towards Richard for half the fight. Sorry, but then all of a sudden, Nazario started throwing like real haymakers, and I think they did a lot of damage. Where he's like, "Oh, cool! So you want to introduce somebody onto the team that doesn't have powers that Batman can do?" And Richard did a good job of trying to counter back that, but I thought it was like a little bit of a chink in the armor. So I'm going to have to slightly go with Nazario, but we have 3 judges here. I may be wrong, but that's what I heard.
So I'm going to get right to the point. I'm going to get my point to Nazario. I was more, because essentially the negatives that I got from both, where it was like, oh, Huntress is a person who has no powers. Batman's already here. But then I thought Richard had a really, really good defense of like John Stewart is another overpowered superhero like we already have. We already have Superman a while now. But I think it was Nazario's. I think it was the lack of Richard's defense on how Huntress can be a fit with the lack of powers, and I think Nazario's defense and John Stewart, just sort of having him sort of replace Hal Jordan in the lore, was good. So Nazario does get the second point, puts him
good
up
job,
to zip.
I completely blanked on my argument. I was like, oh god, this happens when you drink coffee.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're going to move into question number 3, and the category that was selected was Dan Harmon. So we decided to go once again pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We wanted to hear who is the funniest character in Rick and Morty. I know this show is a fan favorite of the Multiplex admin team. So I'm curious to hear these arguments. Richard, you're going to be going first. You have 1 minute of freeform, and I am going to remind you that you do need this point to carry on into speed round.
Mm-hmm. It's quite simple. Rick is the funniest character, Rick and Morty. His name is in the title. He has the best dialogue. He has the best character arc. He has the best humor, and the situations are amazing. Basically, Rick is the grandfather of Morty, takes him on these adventures in the parallel universes, and his lack of care of Morty, his dialogue, his catchphrases is what makes him the funniest character.
All right. Nazario, we're going to go to you next. You have up to a minute if you'd like. What you guys have been taking 30 seconds at max. Tell us who is the funniest character in Rick and Morty.
I find his choice a little funny. I'm just going to say that my choice is Jerry, Beth's husband, which it just happens to be funny in a multitude of ways, in different ways in every season. And yeah, I think if you're talking strictly about funny, like haha, that is the best character in that show.
All right, cool. So you guys know the drill. 5 minutes of freeform. Let's go.
Okay, I can say this right now. Jerry is not the funniest character. He's the straight character for a reason. He has no funny dialogues. If the question was, who is the character that the funniest things happen to him? Yes, I would agree, Jerry. But Jerry is the typical dad in every TV show. He's the typical Jerry in every TV show. Nothing funny he says. There's nothing funny he says. He's a straight character. His job is to make everyone else funny, just being the normal character. There's nothing funny about him.
I'm very curious that you said that Rick's name's on the title, because that has nothing to do with funny. If the question was who was the best character, who's the most badass, who's the smartest, who's the guy you would want to be, yeah, Rick is the bomb, but Jerry is hilarious. He finds multiple ways to be pathetically funny. He has the episode with Mr. Meeseeks where he thinks that his request is so freaking simple, and then it becomes such an imperative thing that nobody can figure out how to make him be a little better.
Again, that was a situation that happened to Jerry that made it funny. He himself is not funny. He's a normal character.
No, he causes funny. When they went to the clone episode, when they had to analyze Beth and him, the Beth image of him was so pathetic that it was a worm that sucked on the teeth of a beast alien queen version of Beth. It's hilarious because that is what they believe in themselves. He also
Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on. Finish your
There's
thought.
a whole episode about because he's such a stubborn, pathetic loser that he thinks that if he keeps pushing long enough, he will achieve something. There's a whole episode about him defending the fact that Pluto is a planet because when he was a kid, Pluto was a planet, and they bring him to freaking Pluto with the aliens that live in Pluto that do not want to accept reality or change, and then he becomes a rock star, and that's how he feels vindicated. Every time he feels vindicated, it's because they keep establishing he's a fucking loser. It's hilarious.
Okay. Rick is clearly the funniest character. The episode where he's taking on all the other Ricks when they're trying to arrest him, his I don't give a fuck attitude towards everyone else, including his grandson, is hysterical. His catchphrases. He had 2 catchphrases in season 1, which were hysterically funny. He breaks the fourth wall constantly. Jerry, once again, is not a funny character. He is a straight character to make everyone else around him entertaining. That does not make him the funniest character. The funniest things that happen to him, yeah, there's a lot of funny things that happen to Jerry, but he himself is not funny. He doesn't have any funny dialogue. He is a normal character. Rick has, like I said, the episode from the Multi Ricks, the episode where, for example, he's throwing a party in the house. Like he's just like not giving a fuck attitude.
Rick causes a situation. The funny side, not with somebody who goes with him. Morty is funnier than Rick. Beth is funnier than Rick when she's with him. Birdman is funnier than Rick. Rick is the cleverest guy.
Rick is funnier than Jerry. Morty's funnier than Jerry. Summer's funnier than Jerry. The opening sequence is funnier than Jerry. Jerry is a normal character. He's a straight character. He's not meant to be funny, so he cannot be the funniest character.
They decided to make a twist and remove Jerry as having Beth wanting a divorce from him the 3rd season. You felt that loss. That is because everybody keeps saying that the best episode where the show came back.
Of course you felt that loss. He's the only one who's not intentionally funny.
What's as funny as it was because they brought back Jerry. Because the loser came back with his pathetic ways. And even the whole thing on the season where he was dating an alien and trying to break up with her, blaming his kids because that's his nature. It was ridiculously funny because he couldn't comprehend.
Again, the reason why Jerry being gone was such a hard blow is because when everyone else is being overly top funny and he's the straight character, of course you're going to notice the one unimportant thing. Everyone else in the show is hysterically funny. He's the normal one. If you take him out, yes, you're going to notice the difference when he is gone. That's why they brought him back. Again, Jerry is the straight character in the show to balance everyone else out. So he himself is not the funniest character. You could say the funniest situations happen to Jerry, yes. But the question is, who is the funniest character? Rick has the dialogue. He has the humor. He breaks the fourth wall. His I don't give a fuck attitude is alcoholism. I think I won this. I'm sorry.
Alcoholism hilarious. You find Wubba Lubba Dub Dub hilarious. That's a
yes, it's hysterically. It's so unintentionally funny. It's hysterical.
Yeah, I see you laughing.
It's a lot funnier than whatever Jerry does. Jerry does nothing. He's just a normal dad character. And he's like, oh, everything's normal.
Incredible ways to be pathetic. Which
he's more sad than funny. His character is more sad than funny.
The best times Jerry has shined was when the aliens control the universe and they pay him in pills, and the time he was in a freaking simulation and didn't even realize it because he won an award at his job. The guy is so sad and pathetic loser that he's just funny.
That doesn't make him funny. It's just sad and pathetic.
Yeah, it makes
the situation that happened to him is funny, but he himself is not funny.
Time. All right. Very heated, very passionate. I like. We're gonna go into the closing arguments. Nazario, you're gonna go first. 45 seconds. Tell us why Jerry is the funniest character in Rick and Morty.
Like I said, they just keep finding new ways to show Jerry being a pathetic loser, and he always keeps making the wrong decisions, even when he tries to make the good ones. It's just funny. They have the Mr. Mystics episode. They have the Worm Parasites episode. They have the Simulation ending episode, the Whirly Dirly, when he dated the alien huntress, and then he was crying because he lied that his kids were the fault he was breaking up with her, because he couldn't accept that he was just a chauvinist pig who just didn't want to date her anymore. Rick is an ass kicker, a great character, a smartest man in the whole multiverse. You can make a whole lot of things with him, but funny, not his best part. Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, yeah, haha. What else you got?
All right, cool. Richard, your closing arguments. Once again, tell us why Rick is the funniest character in Rick and Morty.
The question is, who is the funniest character? If it was who is the character that had funny situations happen to him, yes, then that would be Jerry. It's not. Jerry is the straight man. Rick has the humor. He has the I don't give a fuck attitude, like I've been saying. The episode where he's crossing, taking on all the other Ricks is hysterical. The episode where he brings the house parties, funny as hell. The first episode is great. He has the catchphrase. He breaks the fourth wall constantly. Jerry is a straight character. He's not meant to be funny. He's not funny. He's to balance the whole show out. That's why Rick is the funniest character.
Right. I like this. This is a good back and forth, and I think it shows how vested you are into the actual show itself. But I am going to start with Mr. Cody Newberry. Cody, based on the arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
So I think this breaks down to like the character. Again, Richard's pretty bold by saying I think I won this. I don't like that, but I do give it to Richard on this one. I think he argued more character. I think Nazario brought up more scenes that are funny, but more on the character, not more on the situations, not why it's him. So I have to give it to Nazario. I have to give it to Richard. Sorry.
Final answer?
Richard.
All right, perfect. All right, Caleb, we're going to go to you next. Based on the arguments provided, who gets your point and why?
I think Richard hammered home the point well. The Jerry's just the straight man. He's not supposed to be funny. I think Nazario tried to put up a really good defense, but I don't think Nazario had quite the barbs he needed to knock down Rick. And Richard being cocky there, I kind of dug it. But yeah, no, that's just good.
Yeah, I'm going to give my point to Richard as well. He did the equivalent of like Brock Lesnar in the UFC, where he just had like that one punch. And he kept doing that same punch over and over and over and over again, of how Jerry is just this atypical character, and it's not him that's funny. It's just everything that happens around him. And I think he hammered home that point pretty well, which means that we now go into the speed round. And how that's going to work is hear you first. You are going to be going first. It has 40 seconds of opening, followed by a 30-second rebuttal. But I feel like we're not going to need that based on the opening arguments have been like 30 seconds max. You are aware of the categories that have been drafted, but obviously not the questions. So once again, the score is 2-1. So Richard, you will need this to move on to stay in the game.
Okay.
All right, so the first category that you guys selected was DC movies, and your question is as follows. And once again, if I hear you first, you're going to be going first. Other than the Joker, who is the best villain in the Dark Knight trilogy?
Two-Face.
Cool.
Two-Face, and then who did you say again, Azaria?
You say the Dark Knight trilogy? Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul? Perfect. All right, so Two-Face for Richard, I heard first. You have 40 seconds of free form. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Two-Face is the second best character in the Dark Knight trilogy because of the fact that he was in Dark Knight along with Joker. He held his own with Heath Ledger's Joker. He has an incredible story arc. His emotional status, the fact that he wasn't a villain, he was a hero, and the situations that Joker led to him to become a villain, his tragedy invokes him to do some dangerous things, and he's the best character.
Alrighty. Ending a little bit early there, but we'll see how that works out. Nazario, you have 40 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
You're saying the best villain in the whole trilogy. Ra's al Ghul is a lot more a meaningful villain in the trilogy because he is the guy who trains him. He is the first one that actually wants to use Bruce Wayne as a weapon. He wanted him to be the one who brought Gotham down. And then the whole story comes full circle in the third film, with spoiler ahead, her daughter, Talia al Ghul, who actually wants to avenge her father. And Liam Neeson does a cameo in the third one that is actually very interesting because it connects why the whole thing was so meaningful. And I feel Two-Face was pretty rushed in The Dark Knight. He wasn't given enough weight to be a great villain. He could have developed more, but if they had saved him for the third film.
All right, perfect. Richard, you have a 30-second rebuttal. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Liam Neeson just played a Liam Neeson character. He was very bland throughout the Dark Knight, Batman Begins. Two-Face had an incredible story arc. The loss of Rachel really drove him into madness. You can feel the pain when he lost it. The Joker turned him evil. His afterthought, he wanted to do good. He lost it. Liam Neeson, yeah, okay, brought his daughter. His daughter was the worst thing about the Dark Knight Rises. Liam Neeson, again, was very bland. He just, nothing really memorable. He just stood there and be like, I'm going to destroy Gotham. Blah, blah, blah. Destroy Gotham.
All right. Nazario, you have 30 seconds of freeform, and time begins whenever you start talking.
Again, they said the best villain for the trilogy. He has more impact in the story. He is integral to the development of Bruce Wayne and to the closure of the story in the trilogy with Talia al Ghul. Two-Face is in 20 minutes of the movie is not even Two-Face, and then he kills two people, and yes, he kidnapped Gordon's family and puts it in one scene that is great, but they could have done so much more if they had saved him for the third movie and just develop the character for real. Make a whole thing about Two-Face versus Bruce Wayne.
Time. Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna go my vote first. Nazario had this coming out of the opening, but I'm actually going to give it to Richard. Richard's rebuttal was pretty good, and I don't think Nazario's rebuttal was that great, where he was more so arguing Two-Face wasn't really on the screen for that much, so therefore he's not my villain's better. And I think Nazario, from his rebuttal, I got that he was maybe more so the best character. Because of his integral thing to Batman. But anyways, I'm going to give my point to Richard, but that's why there's 3 judges. Caleb, I'm going to go to you next. Basic arguments provided. Who gets your point why?
This is tough. I'm going to go slightly with Nazario, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go with Nazario. I think he just had a really good takedown. I'm going to go with Nazario.
Okay, so Cody, my friend, you son of a bitch. It comes down to you. Does Nazario win, or do we go to the final question?
I like to plead the fifth. Am I allowed to do that?
We are not in America. We are on the internet. Those rules do not apply.
Okay. I'm going to give... I didn't like Richard's opening, but I'm kind of with you. He sold me on the rebuttal. I'm going to give it to Richard.
Alrighty. So Richard has made the comeback. We are tied up 2 apiece, which means that we move into the final speed round question. And the category that was selected is fandom Oscars. So once again, if I hear you first, you're going to be going first. And the question is as follows. What was the best film to win Best Animated Feature?
If we shout out a name, and if it's not one best animated, will you tell us, or do we have to?
Yes, we will tell you.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
best animated feature Oscar
Yes.
from
Yes.
fandom.
Yes.
Can we use the new categories because that's Spirited
Yeah.
Away?
I would say yes. Do you want me to?
Yes.
Do you want me
you
to
can.
go
I will-
over what
I-
the categories
I will-
are?
I will allow Spirited Away because Studio Ghibli is a category in fandom.
We literally draft off of it, so it has to
Yeah.
go.
We write the questions and we fucking hate writing Studio Ghibli questions.
You're not wrong. So Spirited
So,
Away.
Wait, did Nazario?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
Nazario
picked-
already picked his.
He picked Spirited Away.
All right.
Which is
Beauty and the Beast
That didn't win.
did no one.
did not win. Okay.
It wasn't an anime. Best animated feature started 2003,
Oh, 2003. Okay.
2001, 2001.
2000 actually.
Monsters Inc.
2001.
Did Zootopia win?
Zootopia did win.
I'll take Zootopia.
Alrighty. So
Spirited Away.
after speculation and a couple of misfires, Spirited Away versus Zootopia. Nazario, I heard you first. You have 40 seconds for an opening argument. Time begins whenever you start talking.
By 2001, the award was really new. The only movie that won before was Shrek. And Spirited Away just kind of broadened the horizon of what animation could reach for the whole western part of the world. I mean, the Adventure of Chihiro, Spirited Away, it's such a beautiful film from such a visual director, Hayao Miyazaki, who had done so much work that just had gone unnoticed first, and now finally got some recognitions from the Oscars as one of the best animators and best storytellers ever with animation.
All right, perfect. Richard, we're going to go to you next. 40 seconds for opening argument. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Zootopia was a beautifully masterpiece film that introduced so many hidden meanings. Like you can never, no matter who you are, you can be anything you want to be if you just try. Also, do not judge a book by its cover. Had a classic story, classic heroes. The incorporations of friendship between the cops. It was a powerful message to accept and to love everyone. And that's what this film brought. There's a reason why it won. It was one of the biggest hits in the movie theaters, in the box office. Made more money than Spirited Away.
Alrighty. I'm going to move into rebuttals now. Nazario, you have 30 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Why are you bringing money into this? The question is the best movie. If we go by more money, Shrek freaking won. Brave won from Pixar, one of the lowest ranked Pixar movies. That was the best Oscar animated movie that made more money than Spirited Away. Spirited Away opens horizons, brings you into a different culture. It's about a fable, about cleaning the world, how we can save it, how we can turn things into demons by polluting. And Zootopia, yes, it's funny, haha, but it's just a very standard Disney animated flick made in CG animation in 2015. Is that the standard?
Time, judges.
Oh,
Please dock anything that he said past 30 seconds off the record. So, Richard, you have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. Time begins whenever you start talking.
standard animation. This movie dealt with issues from real world about racism, stereotypes, prejudice. Also brought in, people hopes and dreams. Spirited Away is a very forgettable movie. I forgot the movie even happened. If you would have said Kiki Delivery Service, it probably would have been it's a more memorable movie. I haven't seen that movie since 2001. Like Zootopia brought in the emotional debut. It brought in the humorous moments, amazing message. Spirited Away was just a horse.
Time. Judges, Spirited Away as a Horse will be stricken from the record.
I thought he said whore. I really thought he said whore. I said Spirited Away's a whore. What are we talking about?
All right, so I will go first once again, and I'll pass it off to the judges here. Cody, tell us why. Tell us who got the point. Why?
Thank you. My point's going to Nazario. One, I think Richard got lost in box office, and he wins a bunch of semantics. Nazario seemed pissed at this question and pissed at the choices. So, like, I've never seen somebody argue for Spirited Away and be angry about it, and he was angry about it. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's terrible. Brave, blah, blah, blah. The rebuttal wasn't strong, but his opening was so strong, and his counter to Richard's opening was super strong. I have to give the point to Nazario. Or, buddy, what's his name?
All right, so Caleb Coho, we're going to go to you next based on the arguments provided. Who gets your point and why?
For all the same reasons Cody did, I have to give the point to Buddy What's-His-Name. The best takedown of this round of debate was the why we're bringing money into it, and Nazario just kind of hammered him into the rebuttal, and that's where it was one for me. So, yeah, I got to give it to Nazario.
I also would have given my point to Nazario because I think Richard didn't hit his stride into the rebuttals, and he was just kind of playing catch-up from there, which means that's your winner and advancing on to the quarterfinals, Nazario Montenegro. Wow, 16 seed beating number 1 seed. I mean, obviously that means nothing, but it's still kind of weird, weird to see. Very nice back and forth. Richard did have the comeback there to send it to the last question, and obviously animated features sort of stumped him. So we are gonna go to some post-match interviews. Nazario, you're finally part of the Nerdgasm. We couldn't really hype you up beforehand, but now you're here. How do you feel about getting the W?
A little relief, honestly. In the beginning, I felt like I had this, and then Richard put his game face on and really came back at it strong. He got me with the Rick and Morty, man. When he said that the character wasn't funny, but the funny situations happened to him, man, he killed me. I kept trying to swim from around that to find a way to counter it, but he got me dead right for it. And I'm glad I am very strong with my animation questions. And yeah, I was a little pissed because, I mean, we're talking quality here, and you're going to argue against Hayao Miyazaki because the movie didn't make enough money. That just pissed me the fuck off. So honestly, I'm glad I survived because, Richard is a really strong player. I think I might have underestimated him a little bit, and I'm never doing that again. So I'm just glad I get to move on and play. Who's supposed to play? Do we know already?
We do actually. You are facing the hunter, Ryan Permison, the man of 1,000 cliches. So how do you feel about going up against Ryan?
I will try not to underestimate Ryan.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations on making it out of the quarterfinal, and we will see you in round 2. We're going to go to Richard next. Richard, the Cinderella story was almost there. You picked up your stride in the Rick and Morty question, and then you did a really good job with the Dark Knight question. Unfortunately, the Oscars and animated features seem to sort of stumble you. I tripped up a little bit there. How do you feel about your performance overall?
I feel great. Nazario deserved to win. He was the stronger competitor of today. My nerves got to me a little bit. I was really hoping not to get to the Phantom Oscars. Once I knew we were going to get to at least the speed round. I mean, it's not like I knew it was going to be like some sort of anime question, just because I feel like that's my weakness. Like, I don't watch too much anime. Nazario played a hell of a game. I also kind of underestimated him because I didn't know if he was going to be super good, super intimidated, but. At the end of the day, I did my best. I'm having fun, and hey, I'm 1-1. That's pretty damn good still. So it's not like I'm 0-2.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Nazario.
No. Words, man, I can't talk today at all. Will we be seeing you in Nerdgasm in the future after the tournament?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always down.
Anybody in particular that you might like to face? Anybody on your hit list?
Anyone who wants to face me, I'm down for it.
Perfect. Not too fussy. You'll take on anybody, anywhere. So once I want to thank you guys for competing today, for finishing up round one. Going to go now to the judges. Caleb, how did you feel about that match? Yeah.
That was a great match. Richard brought a fight, put up a fight. It's just Nazario's quite good, and I think Nazario kind of brought his game at the end. That Dan Harmon round was super impressive for Richard, and I think I still think Richard's one of the top people in Nerdgasm, and I'd love to see him come back.
Yeah. Cody. Yeah, we did it, and I think this was a great way to sort of finish off round one. How do you feel about this match today?
Well, this is the interesting thing with debate. It's not trivia. It's not what you know. It's how you debate. Because this is literally the. I brought in two people to play in this. One was Nazario. The other was Robert. Robert knocked off the 2 seed. Nazario knocked off the 1 seed. But again, anybody can win on any given day in Nerdgasm. That's the whole thing. And the strategy is picking categories. It breaks down like that. That's why I think first round was awesome. This match lived up to all the hypes. Again, we've only had one not so great match in round one. But I'm happy with everything we put out. I think we have put out some of the best debate matches in this first round. And I'm excited for round 2 because it's just going to get even more nuts at that point. So, yeah. Nazario is a person that you need to watch out for in the next rounds. He is no joke.
So before we get to the plugs, I'm going to give you guys a quick little preview of round 2. So the matchups that we have are as follows. Robert the Hobbit Parker is taking on Malcolm Lay in a battle of Take 3 Peeps. Then we have Jay Burns, the guy who thinks that Dumbledore is the worst character in Harry Potter, taking on the commissioner, the godfather of Multiplex, Timothy T.M. Smith. Then also we have Brother Tim taking on Jim Green in a very interesting match. Also, our final match now set in stone, we have Nazario Montenegro, no longer Buddy Whatshisname, taking on Ryan Purvison to finish off round number 2. So we are now going to wrap things up. Going to start with our winner, Nazario. Where can the nerds of the world find you?
In my social networks, I'm always under my real name, Nazario Montenegro, or my handle, Jarrete320. I wish I had written it down, but I forgot. And other than that, I'm always around these trivia leagues, doing some trivia, now some debating. I'm in Full Metal, I'm in Multiplex, I'm in Confidential Cinema. At some point in the next 20 years, they will release the top 100 films that we have been working on forever if Henry decides to edit it. So, yeah, good stuff.
All right. To our fortunate loser today, but a great competitor nonetheless, Richard Schwartz. Where can the squares of the world find you?
They can find me on Facebook under Richard Schwartz. You can find me on YouTube under External Void, where I do mobile gaming for WWE Champions and other random games once in a while. And you can also find me on Twitter under External Void. And here at Multiplex, obviously.
All right, cool. To one of our judges today, Caleb Coho, where can the beautiful bastards of the world find you?
You can find me right here at Multiplex. I host Fandom Fight on Fridays. That's singles teams. We'll be starting that up pretty soon if it's not already up. So, yeah.
All right. To my co-commissioner, that son of the bitch, Cody Newberry, where can the nerds of the world find you?
Well, the nerds can find me on Take 3 Productions. Wednesday watch-alongs returning with Robert, Malcolm, Matt, and myself. We have the 4 movies picked. It is Stardust, I have no idea. I know freaking Matt picked Predator, and I picked the Guardians of the Galaxy. Thursday is Late Night with Take 3, also known as Brooklyn's Wrong, for 2.5 hours. Rank them. If it's a good episode, I show up on there to tell everybody they're wrong and I'm right. Multiplex, I'm here now, so now I'm going to be a host and everything else because they can't kick me out because I weigh a lot. Nerdgasm. Again, we got 8 matches coming to you guys. So you've just seen this. If you haven't seen the rest of them, go back and watch them. They're all great. And then we got 4 new ones going to post. We will have a champion before March, so that's exciting. And yeah, woo. Do you not believe the March?
Cody, not discussing with this other commissioner about setting goals that we can't 100% achieve.
We release 2 a time. And then we record the other 4, and then we have a championship.
Honey, we'll discuss this whenever we get home. So, I am the Black Legend Brooklyn Vale. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TheRealBK10, the number, not the word. You can also find me right here in Multiplex, running Nerdgasm with that son of the bitch, Cody Newberry, every Saturday. This is the first match that you're watching of round 1. What are you doing? Get back there. Start with fucking Ryan and Nico, and then work your way up to this match here. Also, Take the Productions running not 1 but 2 shows: Jukebox Trivia, Music Trivia, Debate, and Countdown. Be sure to check out the season that started with Nico and Jay Burns. Also, Late Night Take 3, a Topical Pop Culture podcast. Be sure to check out the first episode that we dropped in the new year, January 31st, our Super Bowl episode with potentially a guest you would have probably found out at this point. But for Cody, for Caleb, for Nazario, for Richard, I'm the Black and Brooklyn Vale. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, Multiplex. If you think you can take on Nazario, you can't quite yet because you gotta wait till after the tournament. So, cheers, guys, and as always,